Even if you don't play video games, you're probably aware how great video game graphics can look these days. And if you do play them, you might be familiar how this image, or something along the lines, is cited every single gen to prove you're reaching diminishing returns and that graphics don't matter anymore. And I just want to say, they never really did. So folks, I'm Raymando, this is Game Anatomy, and let's talk about that. See, the thing about that image is that it forgets that this can be made to look like this simply by using
the way of the future.
They're the exact same polygons, but one looks beautiful while the other makes me want to throw up. But Ray, look at that generation jump comparing to that, to that, to this. Frick, you know what? It's best to let you folks prove my point, so... Heads up, pop quiz, 5 seconds, name as many games as you can. Keep a count of how many you got right, okay? Maybe write it down in the comments if you're as bad at math as I am.
Round 2.
Now, if I'm guessing right, even in your case, the group 1, well, won. And sure, the games in group 1 aren't exactly the poster boys for AAA level graphics, but there's a reason they're more memorable. Nice, Ray. Love how you put all kinds of games in group 1 and just first-person shooters in the second. Exactly. So you are not in some way implying that this looks terrible, right? You tell me, sure, it looks good, but how long till it gets outdated too? Like, am I gonna sit around the fireplace, chilling with my grandkids, waiting for the game to come on or something and tell them how great Call of Duty World War II looked?
Does that sound like something you want?
Yes.
Well, let me tell you, you'll never get it.
Hey, I might say that about Aladdin, which came all the way back in '93, but its visuals convey the same character and same charm they did about 30 years ago. You see what I mean? Oh boy, all I'm hoping for is that okay boomer is out of fashion when you grow old.
The way of future. The way of the future.
Guard the door. I'll get a doctor. No one sees him like this.
See, I'm not here to shit in freaking Call of Duty, right? I just want to look at games I found really memorable and try my best to explore. Why? Graphics don't matter to me, but something does. Let's try and find that something. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think, that game? Yeah, that looked pretty unique. Something that pretty much defines the look of that game, in a sense. For me, it is 100%. Sounds really obvious, right? But imagine if Dark Souls looked like this, or Legend of Zelda looked like this, or Team Fortress 2 looked like... Wait, it was actually supposed to look like this? What the? It's needless to say that they wouldn't even feel close to the games they actually are without the way they look. Because colors are kinda a visual representation of our feelings, right?
Oh. What?
They subconsciously tell you how to feel. Running into a soothing orange bonfire in Dark Souls only carries so much weight because of the bleak and dark nature of the world, and also because you've been plowed to the ground 100 times because someone thought it'd be a great idea to put a dozen giant skeletons that two-shot you in a dark pit where the only way to live is slowly climb the ladder back? What the f? For a good amount of time I actually thought that that was the way to go and you were supposed to fight and beat. Well, my point is...
Thank you, Dark Souls.
And also, that the color palette is to a game's visuals what, you could say, raw ingredients are to food. Individual items don't taste squat on their own, but then you take a flour and make the dough yourselves. The kneaded chill is just smooth enough, add oil and garlic to a saucepan, cook it till again, and send cooked garlic when you add the tomato paste, pepper, salt, oregano, and basil to get a perfect sauce. Add that before into a greased pizza pan, top crust with sauce, pepperoni, and cheese, and bake it on the crystals precisely golden brown, and the cheese is bubbly to get an incredible mwah! That's when all the pieces begin to make sense together. The colors contrast and complement each other exactly the way they should. When I can look at one snippet from a video game and tell exactly what game it is. But then you add pineapple on the pizza just because you can and ruin everything. Which actually brings me to my second point. noticed how the thin ice cracks when your horse steps on it in The Last of Us 2? Or how Ellie crawling on a dusty floorboard actually mops the dust off? Or how enemies' brains will literally splatter on the wall? Like, this kind of graphical detail really blows your mind away, doesn't it?
Ray, I do see a butt coming.
What? No butt. I actually love the graphics. Okay, fuck you. There was a butt. See, for me, at the end of the day, it all comes down to if all these graphics and details help the intended aesthetic. For the case of The Last of Us 2, sure, with the whole realistic, gritty, grounded vibe that the game is going for. But then look at Rainbow Six Siege. Fun game, right? But what is this dog shit visibility for a multiplayer game? Literally, see for yourself. Not to mention, I've got over 1,000 hours in this and I might still get confused over which one of these Doc or Rook is. Contrast that to Team Fortress 2, where you can simply look at the character silhouettes and know exactly which one it is you're looking at. I mean, take a wild guess, folks. I mean, which one of these two looks like it's gonna age better, graphically speaking? Even with single-player games, look at how this has aged compared to this with a budget of 100k against about 28 million. Because it knew exactly what it wanted to be. And I know they're way different.
So, Ray, what I'm hearing is that slap a cartoony design or monochrome coloring and all of a sudden you have an artsy aesthetic game?
Absolutely not. All I've said is that when I look at a game's art, it shouldn't feel like it slapped together stuff that already worked before, even with your so-called cartoony design. But a real person with real ideas actually sat down and simply tried to create something inspired. I don't even think it's an either-or question. You can have great graphics and great aesthetics at the same time. In fact, and hear me out here, I think that is the way of the future. Fuck, prick, don't you dare put the
Future. The way of the future. The way of the future. The way of the future.
Effortlessly ignoring that, let's move on to what I was saying, and it's that these days, with everybody having fairly good amount of access to great engines, textures, shaders, fog and lighting effects, all these kinds of resources, if somebody wants to stand out, having a focused art design has never been more relevant. Don't believe me? Look at how so many of these new AA, AAA level budget games are going for more imaginative, distinct, stylized visuals, and tell me that this isn't the way more and more devs will keep approaching their visuals in the future. Which I think is way more challenging to pull off than simply gunning for the best graphics, because obviously tech will keep evolving, but you can only have an original aesthetic with an original plan. Which brings me to... As wild as it sounds, this actually might be more central towards the aesthetic than the other two, because you can't go ahead and change the setting of the game with production, right? It's almost like a life hack of sorts. There's so many different time settings, worldwide cultures, or a mix of both that you can implement that it's crazy we even keep seeing the same things.
Our thing was that, and I think that was something that I really loved about Valve, was that we didn't look in the game, like the game universe, right, or the game industry, for inspiration or art direction. We looked outside of it, and there's like a universe. It's an amazing...
Ghost of Tsushima and Red Dead Redemption don't even do anything particularly new, but their choice of setting and their visual commitment towards it is enough to make them stand out from other games in their genre. Or look at smaller projects like Raji with its whole Indian mythology backdrop, or Cuphead with its 30s aesthetic, or Spelunky with literally a mix of everything possible. Trust me, I'm never running out of examples with this one. So let's just take a step back and sum up our 3 boss fights of a unique aesthetic: color palette, simplicity, and setting. So it wouldn't be a stretch to say that it's pretty darn important for a game to adhere to a unified visual logic, right? Looks like we've established the rules. Now let's talk about breaking them. Boy, I'm nailing these transitions. We talked about Limbo, which has an amazing, unique aesthetic, but you'll notice it doesn't really have any variety going on for it throughout the length of the game. And then there's games like Uncharted 4 that might not have a completely original aesthetic, but I was blown away by the sheer visual variety that game throws at you, from a Mexican prison to some dark orphanage to some Mediterranean towns, snow-clad mountains to tropical islands to... Even nailing one of those is already a home run, folks. But then we get games like Hollow Knight, where the whole art is hand-drawn, looks so beautiful, where every every level just doesn't look different from the others, but has its own enemy design, environmental storytelling, music, and vibe. That's the kind of variety I'm talking about. Kinda like a great TV show, you know, where every episode has a mini story of its own, but looking back at all of it in retrospect, you realize that all those different episodes fit the grand scheme of things so perfectly that they end up becoming greater than the sum of their parts. And now into our secret sauce third category, how the art design can actually help the gameplay. Like, everything in a game looks pretty, it adds to the atmosphere, it's all memorable, but does it actually spread its wings far enough to reach the data beer of the game, the gameplay? Now, this could be anything, using visual clues in the environment to subconsciously guide the player where to go next, designing the enemies or attacks or pickups in ways that they stand out from each other, or literally replacing things like the stamina bar and adding it into the character's cape itself. There's so many ways that the art design of the game can be more than just the art design of the game. And the biggest way I've seen it happen is when something designed to be a part of the regular gameplay becomes bigger than maybe the game itself. Say what you want about Assassin's Creed's uninventive and recycled aesthetic design, but you could show a hidden blade and a hood to someone who doesn't even play video games and they might know that it's from Assassin's Creed. Sometimes, just sometimes, a game's art may end up with something special, something unique to the point that it becomes iconic in pop culture. The cardboard box from Metal Gear, the Big Daddies of Bioshock, the crowbar from Half-Life.
Out of ammo. Use the crowbar.
These things were simply designed to be an integral part of the gameplay, right? As items, enemies, weapons, or anything. But they've pretty much transcended the games themselves just due to how memorable they are. And all of these aren't unforgettable to me only because of the way they look, right? Or even behave or play out, but because of how they made me feel. See, the graphics may matter, they may not matter, but if you want to take away one little thing from this video, it's just that the next time you look at a new game, does it look like a new game?
I dig my hole, you build a wall. I dig my hole, you